Die Anwältin der Pferde. Weil Pferde keine Lobby haben.
Because I don't like the critics bashing of both the FEI as well as individual riders, who again and again argue with snapshots and malicious moments out of context argumentation. I would like to contradict these arguments. The FEI, for example, says the following in a recent statement.
The FEI welcomes open discussions about the role of horses in sport, but it is critical that these discussions are based on accurate information and constructive dialogue. Misinformation, whether through omission, misrepresentation, or lack of context, can mislead the public and damage trust in the sport. A number of dressage athletes and FEI officials have found themselves targeted and are facing unverified accusations and scrutiny by some parts of the media. It is disheartening to see dedicated professionals, who have committed their lives to the care of their horses and to the sport, feel as though they are being subjected to undue pressure from those seeking to spread disinformation.
Well, let's take a look. In order to not criticize the whole sport here, let's take a closer look at one rider, namely the world's best female rider. I prefer to say most successful rider for a good reason. Mrs. Werth reacted in a talk show to a photo that was released about a year ago. This photo, on the occasion of the Indoor Amsterdam, showed her horse with open mouth and a blue tongue. She said, that time, that the picture was a fake. So she claimed that this photo was faked, meaning that the photographer manipulated the colors, probably, or maybe also manipulated the photo otherwise, and photoshopped the photo by changing the horse's tongue or the mouth. In an interview or podcast with the Dressage Studies, a German horse magazine, was given by Mr. Richenhagen, the new president of the German National Federation, he claimed that it had been legally clarified that the picture was a fake, which surprises me very much, because I have not read in any press release or anywhere else anything about a legal action or lawsuit about the photographer being accused of any kind of manipulation or being convicted for manipulations. The defense strategy has obviously changed later on. Obviously, because more and more material was published showing horses ridden by Mrs. Werth with open mouths, showing signs of pain, and often combined with blue tongues. This material not only taken and published by this one photographer, or other malicious people, who wanted to insinuate, but also photos that have been published for years by others in horse magazines, or otherwise. They can be found on the net everywhere. It took me half an hour to make this compilation of photos from Mrs. Werth with former horses she rode. Let's have a look at them now. The defense strategy of this rider has changed insofar as the photographer, who works with particularly sensitive photographic material, is now accused of maliciously always taking pictures of her horses when she was celebrating half halts with her hand. Let's listen to this statement completely, so that you know how this reasoning works.
You're listening to an article from horsesport.com. Isabel Werth responds to open mouths debate by horse sport staff. Isabel Werth has responded to the open mouths debate following news that a group of prominent equine scientists has written to the FI with concerns over the double bridle and incidents of conflict behaviors at the Amsterdam and New Munster World Cup dressage qualifying shows in Europe last month. The letter, from scientists and veterinarians with special interest in the equine mouth, was openly copied to the International Olympic Committee, national federations, and other stakeholders. They also lodged images of top-placed riders, including Isabel Werth, on the FI's new online incident reporting platform. The letter was accompanied by several hundred images taken at those two shows by the Norwegian photographer Crispin Perelius Johannesson, who uses top-spec equipment to capture conflict behaviors in dressage tests, and who is described by MS Werth as a man on a mission. Advertisements scroll to continue with content. The full collection sent to the FI has not been publicly shared at the time of writing. Horsesport.com and other media have seen them, as has MS Werth, who is also president of the International Dressage Riders Club. These include over 50 images of herself in Amsterdam, where she placed 4th in the Grand Prix and 3rd in the freestyle with DSP Quantaz. She comments, "I would like to note that these photos from all the riders and horses in Amsterdam, where I was present myself, do not mirror the complete picture of the combinations as they appeared in the arena. In the freestyle especially, there were over-average performances and delighted spectators in a fully sold-out arena. The photos do not show this in any way, but show the exact moment when the hand has given a more or less half halt, rather than the moment when the hand gives the contact, or probably, in 1 or 2 cases, just holds the contact. This is easily possible to do with the use of today's cameras, which can take 20 to 50 pictures per second. This is being used by the photographer to make it seem as if it was a constant state of affairs. If you look at the background of the pictures, you will see the similarity of the moments in time. As you can see in the pictures, Quantaz was at times putting downward pressure onto the curb and snaffle bits of the double bridle. This caused him to open his mouth. As I am sure you are aware, horses are not always totally relaxed, supple, and on the aids. They are not machines which always respond in the same way. We are showing our horses in front of large crowds, in arenas with a lot of noise and movement. The horses do behave differently to the way they behave at home. Is it really such a big problem when, as in this case with Quantaz, he is not fully relaxed and accepting the bit for a moment? It is correct that the movements where he shows an open mouth should be marked down. However, I do not believe that Quantaz suffered any pain from the bits in this test. On the contrary, he is a strong, proud, self-confident, and non-submissive horse. Of course, we would just like to show the moments when the hand gives the contact forwards, but the truth of riding is that we do have to give half halts even more when the horse is not ideally on the aids. In these moments, you will get different reactions from every horse. They are not always as supple as you wish they should be. That is the case whether we are using a double or snaffle bridle. And you will see this in all other equestrian disciplines too. The bridle is a tool to educate and control a horse in a proper way. Our goal and challenge is, and has to be, a light contact independent of the bit or bits being used. However, this is a goal that we can't always reach. It is also worth realizing that riding as a whole, the warming up, the conditions for the horses, the level of self-reflection by the riders, trainers, and even the owners, and the stewarding at shows have changed immensely in the last 10 years. I know that I can or could always do something better. but it can't be right that our performances are made to appear to be of a poor standard because of bad or unflattering pictures made by a man on a mission. I'm very surprised that scientists can make such a judgment based only on photos. A large number of well-known international top vets were live in Amsterdam because of a congress. None of them seemed to share this interpretation.
I will now say the following. So I myself have learnt to give half halts in a different way. And I also teach it differently, namely, you give the half halts first of all with the seat and very lightly supported by the hand and possibly lightly aided by the thigh. Half halts are given when it is necessary to assist the horse in its balance, or to help the horse to restore its balance, for example before a corner or before starting half passes. A good rider does this in such a way that an observer does not even notice these half halts, because firstly he already gives them before the horse gets out of balance. If he is a bit late and the horse is no longer sufficiently with the hind legs and the haunches under the center of gravity, he has to help the horse in balance again. That means that actually, if you are a little too late, you can see that the horse is in danger to lose balance, or has already lost it by moving less closed or collected, and then you see that the half halts have to be given in order to restore balance again. So actually at Grand Prix level you shouldn't have to give permanently half halts, because that would mean that the horses are not in balance. Anyway, that's true for the Rolka and LDR trained horses, of course, because they are not being ridden in relative elevation anyway. But well, we can put this fact aside, but keep it in our mind as a footnote. So, dear Mrs. Werth, if you need half halts almost without a break, or at least very frequently, and over a very long period of time, in which the hands and weight on the reins is not withdrawn again, then you are obviously riding something other than the classical riding theory and the guidelines of the FEI ask from the riders. Guidelines that are still the ones used in international tests and championships. How would you explain that? If someone on both video sequences, as well as on individual snapshots, which can be taken again and again, is documented to give halts with his hands permanently, which means is pulling at the mouth of the horse, then this is neither out of context nor is that just a single photo of a moment in time. But this should be something that should actually give you food for thought, whether your training method that you have been practicing for years and which you have been practicing successfully is really the appropriate and horse-friendly that one should actually like to see. And one does not want to see horses clearly showing that they are in pain and they suffer from brutal hands.